I am at the hands-on test of getting started with Apex under the Apex Basics and Database. Here is the challenge, the hands-on challenge. Create an Apex class with a method that returns an array or list of strings. Uh, I think they're exactly the same in Salesforce, both an array and a list of strings. And as I kind of went up here, I was earlier. I actually kind of scanned through this. Yeah, so right here, list of string is the same as string or array of strings. You're gonna get the exact same thing, and even better, this even it's even instantiating it here as a list. So an array of colors is equal to a list of, yeah. So, or I'm sorry, an array of strings is equal to a list of strings. So same thing. So we're going to create a list, or create a method that returns a list of formatted strings, test0, test1, and the length of the array is determined by an integer parameter. Test0, test1. Okay. I think I get it. I think. We'll hit launch. Come out to the developer console. Okay, and we need to make a class. Make an Apex class called string array test. If you watched the other videos, you know I am a big fan of copy paste. So new class, paste string array test, and the Apex class must have a public static method called generate string array. And based on this, it's probably going to return or it's going to accept an integer parameter, and I guess return a list. So I think it said it was public, and I think it said static. Public static. So we're going to make a public static method that returns a list of strings, and we're going to call it generate string array. The generate string array method, static method, is going to accept a parameter of an integer. I don't know enough about it. Well, I guess it's going to be, the integer is going to determine how many arrays come back. So let's try to be kind of useful. I think this should be num of, that might be a useful name, num of strings, maybe. Okay, so that should make our public static method that returns a list, or that's a public static method that accepts an integer and returns a list of strings. The generate string array method must return an array or list of strings. The method must accept an incoming parameter. The method must accept an incoming integer as the parameter, which will be used to determine the number of returned strings. Okay. So, up here it said test0, test1. Let's read this. The method must return a string value. Wait, what? The method must return a string value in the format test in, where in is the index. Okay, that's quite confusing. This seems to be counter to everything that we've read up here. It's supposed to return a list, and now it seems like it's asking us to return an index, like .get this particular string. I don't know, and we have an error now. Oh, we need to return something. But up here it says this. It seems like I'm supposed to do test. It seems like I'm supposed to instantiate a list of strings, loop through what I called num of strings, add our integer, or oh, I think it's supposed to be test. Yeah. So add test plus num of strings to our list, and then when we're done, return the list of strings. I think that's what it wants us to do based on everything else up here, but this seems like it actually wants us to maybe do all this, create the list, and then oops, I guess that's fine. We'll kind of separate it like this. It seems like this is sort of method 1. I'm not sure which one it wants us to do. This is 2. So 2 is everything above the line, but instead of returning the list of strings, it's like it wants us to return so we called our list of strings. Oh, we didn't even create it. So let's say we called our list of strings string list. So here I think it's asking us to say string list and then the number. That wouldn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense because it would always return the last one. I feel like that line is wrong. Maybe because it's very new, it's wrong. So I'm going to do this do it the top way. These contrived examples are sometimes tough. So let's try this. So list string. I wanted to call it string list. New list. So that instantiates a new list of strings called string list, and we want to loop through them, or sorry, loop this many times. So we want to loop like this, integer I, instantiate that, stop if we get to num of strings, and then increment. I think that's the syntax for that. And every time we want to add a value called test, and then Salesforce is very forgiving when it comes to concatenating. I can add this, I can concatenate test and then an integer without any issue. So this will, if we put the number 3 here, num of strings is 3, it'll loop through this 3 times, and it'll put test space and 3. I don't have to convert it or anything. It'll just every time do that. And I'm getting an error. Okay, I still thought I was getting an error as I said that. And then once we're done with our list, we're just going to return it. I think that's what it wants, which is actually really simple. It's much simpler than what is said in here. So let's check it and see if that's right. All right, that's good. So that was it. So that did actually get it. That did what we wanted. That last line really looked confusing, but that did it. Actually, bring it back. So it was very fast. We created a list. We instantiated a list. We looped through. We looped this many times, and as we're looping through, we're adding to our list test and then the value, and then we're returning that list. Um, I can't think of a time when I have to do something like that, but I think a pretty good first lesson for how to actually use this. I think I always wish they would make examples more. I don't know, with a better piece of code or something, but still, pretty good first lesson.